It's a particularly long countdown today, Rob.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten to that beat at the end of the intro music.
It's like
Never heard that before. That was awesome.
It's like the dance mix version of the Common Good podcast starting bit. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Common Good podcast, 13th of March. What I like to now refer to as, pandemic anniversary week. So, just 3 little years ago today, we were still thinking maybe things would be okay.
Yeah, part of my morning ritual each day is I play Wordle.
Okay,
I still do that.
I
feel like that helps keep my brain sharp or something. Someday we'll learn that dementia was staved off by those who played Wordle.
Right.
And so I play Wordle, and then after I get the Wordle word, then I jump over to Facebook and I check my Facebook memories. And and it was this time, the last couple of days, I've been seeing announcements that we had posted about church being we're gonna have church online this week. It was a whole new thing that we had never done before.
It was all starting to roll out. I think it was the 16th. Is that right? Is that the date that we all remember of March when the sort of realization and the shutdowns sort of started? Was that the date?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly.
Anyway, today's the 13th. In Minnesota, it's a beautiful blue sky and 7 degrees, Rob, 7.
Oh.
It gets a little disheartening sometimes when you just get hit with a little dose of winter. But it's back. How are things there just outside of the fine city of Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Yeah, they're good. We got nice weather. It's it's a brisk 49 or 50, and in bright skies. That I gotta tell you, Doug, the time change has been kicking my butt this year.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
You weren't ready for this one, huh?
No, I've been. I don't know what time I'm supposed to eat. I go to bed and then I think, well, this is way too early to be in bed. But then I look at the clock and I'm like, no, it's not. And
do you have that one clock in your house that you didn't set ahead and you see it and then you're like, okay, hang on, what time is it now? What is it? Do you have one of those like in your stove or in your kitchen or that fancy new microwave you just installed?
I'm pretty fastidious about making sure the clocks are all right. But
well, in our house, it was Shelly was in the kitchen. She's like, hang on a minute. What time is it right now? Somehow the clock stove is much more authoritative than
your phone.
Than the phone in your hand.
Or Vanessa's car. In the clock in Vanessa's car might never be changed.
People don't know how to change their. Look, if you know how to change your clock on your car stereo, your car, wherever it is in your car, whether it's a separate clock, I guess, or in your stereo, let us know in the comments that you actually know how to do it. And this is like, you could just sit down and do it without missing a beat. You don't have to Google it.
Without Googling it first.
You're not opening the glove box. You're not just pushing a bunch of random buttons and sort of hoping and holding something down. Like, you just know how to do it. I know 0 people who can sit down in their car. I mean, some cars are very clear. It's like there's an H button and an M button, and you just push it and it just changes. Yep. My Mini Cooper, honest to goodness, when I had a Mini Cooper, it was like rub your belly, tap your head, push multiple buttons. It involved the turn signal. It was truly, it involved the apparatus on the turn signal.
Well, maybe if you were a normal sized person getting into a Mini Cooper, but every time I think about you owning a Mini Cooper, it just cracks me up because you're just folding yourself into that car.
Hey, automobiles, taking out SUVs and trucks, automobiles, Mini Cooper, second best car for tall people. Number 1 car, really? A Buick. Yeah. And it's because of the way they're designed. Now, when I drive a Mini Cooper, seat that I sit in is all the way to the back. It's a 3-seater at best.
No passengers there.
Shoulder room, head room, leg room. It's incredible. I'm 6'7". I extend my legs all the way, like lock my knee all the way out. I can't do that in nearly any other vehicle. So
Wow.
they're extraordinary cars for taller
Yeah.
people, which is also
Yeah.
fun just to
Hey,
get out of in a a Target parking lot. That thing pulls
yes.
up and I stand up and people are like, oh, yeah. I see them. They just literally they can't help size humor. Size humor to
Yeah. Oh,
people is so
oh,
funny.
for
Um,
sure. I mean, I just went with it here.
yeah, big
Uh,
people and little things.
oh,
It's been funny since Tommy Boy, and even before that.
and probably before that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey Rob,
So
I
Cindy
was
is asking. Cindy's
yeah.
asking in the comments where she can get this aside from Facebook. Cindy, what a wonderful question. If you'd like
Wow.
the audio version, you can find it on all the places that you listen to podcasts. Just look for Vote Common Good. But the place that we would really love for you to show up
Please.
is on YouTube.
That's it.
Go over to YouTube and search up as my 8-year-old says, search up. I apparently have switched to that now.
Yes,
Search
well,
up Vote Common Good in YouTube, because YouTube is a search engine, and and and
and we're there.
subscribe
That's our
to the Vote
primary
Common Good
place.
channel. Smash that notification button.
Don't say that. You're going to jinx us. Don't do any of that YouTuber influencer thing. Hey, what I really need you to do.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, we'd love to
Yeah,
have you over there.
live. Yeah,
You make a
yeah. We're
comment
live on
over there
YouTube too.
on YouTube and send us a message, and we'll send you something in the mail. I mean, Jim is already over there. You got friends. As Garth Brooks said, you got friends in those low places. Jim's over there waiting on you. Alex will be over there waiting for you. A bunch of our regulars are there. That's our favorite place, partly because it's easy to share. You can just you can just share that video and send it to somebody in a text message. They don't have to log into Facebook. They don't have to be on Instagram, or you don't have to, be on any of the other places. You can just watch it right there. So we'd love for you to be over there on our YouTube channel. And there's playlists and all kinds of things. You can not only go back and watch older podcasts, which, some of us just do on a rainy Saturday afternoon, but you can also watch a whole lot of other things that we've curated and crafted. So yes, thank you, Cindy, for that great comment. Rob, I was thinking about the pandemic, partly because I saw this story 3 years in, how the pandemic has changed our lives and how it hasn't. I thought that was really interesting. And I wanted to read the article, but this article is produced by AARP, and I couldn't bring myself to read it. Not in the print version that has shown up at my house or on the digital version, because I'm pretty sure if I click on that AARP article in my news feed, I am done. I mean, I am opening a box.
It is adult diaper ads for you from here on out. And
but I'm sure there was something great in that article about how things have changed. And I started thinking to myself, like, wow, some things really have changed, and man, some things just haven't. And our news roundup of the political news today is going to be a stark reminder.
Yes.
Holy cats.
Yeah.
Here we are again.
We used to have a podcast that we called This Guy's Got to Go, where we would just rant about Donald Trump for an hour. And yeah, it feels like we're bringing it back.
I had to stuff in a bunch of filler today just so we wouldn't do that, because I had an hour plus just on his behavior yesterday that we could have that we could have gone on and on and on about. But in honestly, in other political news, hey, in this idea that inflation has again gone down, that's a really good sign. Look, it's not only a good sign politically, it's just a good sign for people that the overall inflation has diminished. And what it's not, again, if you get over there on that YouTube channel and you look up our playlists, we have whole sections on the economy where we talk with economists and talk about economists and talk about the economy. Inflation is not caused, as a lot of people think, this inflation by too much money in the system. In fact, it's not even clear that could cause inflation, these old school theories of what causes inflation. Inflation during the pandemic was caused by a lack, say it together now, a lack of access to items and a lack of access to workers. That's what's caused inflation. So it's not coming down because the Fed is raising interest rates and tuning it down. It's because supply chains are picking up and it's being still drags too slowly because we're not solving the worker flow, and the worker flow is connected to immigration. We're more than 4 million people down from where we should have been if you had 2018 projections going into this year. And we have whole playlists on that as well. You can go with us on an immigration ride, figuratively and kind of literally, because we did a ride across the border. Immigration is a huge downward pressure on available workers, and that's what's causing inflation. So getting these things under control, it's a good thing. And what do you think the political implications of this are going to be for the what seems to be a very certain Biden reelection bid?
Yeah, I think so much depends on gas prices, and gas prices certainly have leveled off. We haven't seen a drop. And listen, I don't think presidents should be judged on gas prices. I think that's unfair and inappropriate. But presidents are judged on gas prices because it is, for whatever reason, it seems to be the most immediate thing. And it's so ridiculous because if you ever, those people that drive, Doug, are you one of these people that drives all over Minneapolis looking for the cheapest gas? You've got the app on your phone.
Not once. I
It's
never
gonna
once
save you
have looked for cheaper gas.
you think about this. Okay, you're going to drive way out of your way to get 3 cents cheaper on gas. Your gas tank is what, 12 gallons?
No,
You
mine's
just
20.
saved yourself. Well, okay, 20. You just saved yourself 60
20
cents.
gallons. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
great.
good point.
Like, I mean, you just think
Yeah.
about
How's that
what
going?
it is. Like, what?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I people's obsession with gas prices, I think, is just way out of whack. That is really
Totally.
That's connected to the price of goods as well, though. Gas prices have been both a contributing factor to the
Yeah.
price of goods as well as cover for corporations to raise the price of goods.
Yeah.
And so as gas prices come down, the price of goods is going to come down. I think that, they say in the economic world, there's this great phrase, a lagging indicator.
Love it.
I think it feels to me like this might be a bit of a lagging indicator. Like, this is one of those things that people don't like it. There's the impression, there's what you
Yeah.
feel, and then there's the reality. And I think it's gonna take it's gonna take a lot of time before the feeling that prices are up and inflation is a real thing
Totally.
begins to wane. Like, the lagging indicator is the emotion, the perception that people have after the fact.
I think as far as the politics of this go, it's pretty good timing. In other words, as inflation comes down over the next 6 to 12 months, it's going to take a while. And about the time you hit late summer, fall of 2024, things are going to feel like they're back to normal. And there's going to be a narrative there that the Biden administration will jump on and will utilize. But that's what obviously, like all things, that's going to cause a move to other topics like the banks. So apparently over the weekend, like the ghost of Christmas past 2008 was walking around the White House and the Treasury Department, because apparently over the weekend the details were coming out about this Silicon Valley bank that was in real trouble. People had removed so many deposits out of there that they were really in trouble, and they weren't there. The deposits were of amounts that were too high to have federally backed security around them. The FDIC. People were freaking out, and they really thought that Monday morning it could launch another series of collapses as banks have to start bailing out banks and all the rest of it. But apparently they got it under control. But that was unnerving. I mean, to think, here we go again. Another moment where a banking situation is going to put this country in a really tough situation, which happened, at the end of the Bush administration and then the beginning of the Obama administration in 2007 and 8.
Yeah, for sure. And I I went to bed Sunday night and was sitting in bed next to Vanessa, and she looks at me, she's like, "You're really worried about this, aren't you?" And I actually was, and I am not I'm not the kind of person that is inclined to, be a pessimist or a worrier about things. And I I was concerned for a couple of reasons. One is the number of companies and the ripple effects of this particular bank, Silicon
Hmm.
Valley Bank, and its role with startups and technology companies. Um, we run an Etsy store, and Etsy was telling people that, hey, you're not gonna like we're not gonna be able to pay your uh, your Etsy payment on Monday. Like that like it could have affected us. It's so
Yep.
the ripple effects of this particular bank was really troubling. And then you get word on Signature Bank following
Yeah.
up with that, and you're just like, oh no, are we in for a thing here? And are these two stories related? Is this related to interest rates? As um, the Fed raises interest rates to try to ease inflation, parenthetically,
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
they
It will do
they
something. It's not going to stop inflation.
Yeah, what it did is it bottomed out the value of different bonds held by these banks, and people were pulling their money as a result, and it was, yeah. I don't know if I would really like to think, okay, President Biden jumped on this, the FDIC and his administration jumped on this, staved this off. I don't know. It feels too early to tell.
Yeah,
Uh, you know,
and whether Biden's administration learned lessons from
yeah,
the train derailments, the spy balloon, where people were saying like, you need to get out in front and
right.
say something about this, take control. They didn't waste any time getting on this. They got
Yeah,
in the medias, in the press. They were telling their story immediately on Sunday. They were calling through to reporters, trying to make sure that stories didn't start to build. And then Biden yesterday was out with a prepared statement, looking at a camera and saying,
yeah,
it's going to be okay. So either they were uh, trying to correct for some past slow responses, or this really is something they thought this requires the president getting out and saying something. So
yeah,
this was a real move. But look, I don't know all of what went on. We'll know more in the coming weeks, about what did happen as the stories get out about what the Biden administration did. But it seems like they did the right thing.
yeah,
And as Angie in the chat says, she said, "I wish Trump had not removed the Dodd-Frank regulations." Well, we were
yeah,
thinking very similar things, and this old photo from back in like 2018 is a good reminder. That Trump is like, "Hey, let's stack up all the paper." Uh, that
yeah,
dictates the regulations that we're cutting, like as if the height of printed paper is what we want to think about when it comes to regulations. I mean, just the stunt around this
yeah.
was really,
It
really something.
Yeah, it was, Trump's war on regulation and the dismantling of not just regulation, but just general federal government
Hmm.
oversight in all areas. We talked about the anniversary of the pandemic. The Trump administration gutted our pandemic response. There were teams, in China that were supposed to be monitoring things that were gutted. This is a story from 2008 that the top White House official in charge of pandemic response exits abruptly. Parenthetically, exits abruptly is booted.
Yeah.
This like, and then you know Trump guts federal oversight, and we have a pandemic. Now, bad things happen. Now, watch this pattern. Um, Trump guts federal oversight of railroads,
Yep.
And this headline is really amazing. From 2018, Trump rolls back train braking rule meant to keep oil tankers from exploding near communities.
Yeah. Yeah. He rolled back those. Now, is there a 1-to-1? Did he do? It's not a voodoo doll, right? It's not like cut a regulation and a train flies off the railroad tracks. Nope. But this is the kind of stuff. This is why you have regulations for banking and for railroads and inspections, and you have people to respond to pandemics and pay attention to things. Look, so I know Republicans are committed to cutting things because they just want the federal government to be smaller. But some of the things that the federal government has done, I would dare say I might be tempted to most of the things the federal government has put in place are in place for a reason.
Yeah.
It's actually, now look, if you're just talking about a spending bill where some Mitch McConnell or, some governor from a red state goes and hits up a senator from his state and says, let's get a little money for a project here. Yeah, that's a different thing. But regulations, you know what it takes to put a regulation in place? It's just a lot. So look, I know that people are tempted to say, let's get the government off our back and all the rest of it. Well, they're on your back because you need a back buddy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a sexual reference I just made, and I don't even know that is. I don't even know what a back
buddy
is.
I agreed heartily with you, and then I thought, do I need a back buddy?
But you need a back buddy. Yeah. So sometimes these get them off your back is the government giving you a pat on the back or a boost on the back or a little back support, because we can't just be running around cutting things. A little trigger warning. We're going to play you 2 videos today of the twice impeached failed presidential candidate running for office. And we're going to show you one of those.
We're playing a little game of connect the dots here. So we've got Trump pulls back on federal oversight, pandemic happens. Trump pulls back on railroad oversight, train derailments are happening. Trump pulls back on oversight of community banks, and Silicon Valley and Signature Bank happen. And you think we're not just pinning this on him. This is something he's going to take credit for. I roll that beautiful bean footage.
Yeah. And you know what it reminds me of, Rob? This great phrase I heard in a fabulous podcast, a lagging indicator. That's what it reminds me of. Speaking of that. All right, here we go. Trigger warning. You're going to hear him again.
We've done. But we've kept yet another promise, as I signed,
look at Mike
Economic
Pence.
Growth, Regulatory Relief,
Mike Pence.
and Consumer Protection Act into law. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for our country.
Big.
This is truly a great day for America and a great day for American workers and small businesses all throughout the nation. The legislation I'm signing today rolls back the crippling Dodd-Frank regulations that are crushing community banks and credit unions nationwide. They were in such trouble.
Oh, yeah.
One size fits all.
I love when he ad-libs.
Those rules just don't work. And community banks and credit unions should be regulated the same way, and you have to really look at this. They should be regulated the same way with proviso for safety as in the past when they were vibrant and strong, but they shouldn't be regulated.
Good old days. You remember the savings and loan collapse?
With proviso.
Financial institutions. And that's
all right, are we done?
happened,
Do you think
and
that's
they were
enough, or
put out of
does he got a little
business
magic
one by
coming
one.
here?
And they weren't lending.
Oh, no.
Since it's passed.
That's good. All right. So the man decided to go out and sort of brag about all the deregulations. It would be fun if somebody had a Truth Social account. They could go over and see if on the failed social media platform, the failed presidential candidate is like, hey, thanks again to all the regulation cutters out there. Things are going great. But look, even in the midst of it, the Biden administration stepped up. They figured it out. But this shows that there's still some problems. Now, you know what DeSantis and the other Republicans are saying is what caused this problem. Wokeness.
Wokeism.
Wokeism.
So tired of the word woke.
I mean, look,
Oh my
it's
goodness.
morning in America and it's time to wake up. But other than that, let's just not try to blame this. Like, maybe the problem is regulation and not the way that the bank chose to deal with hiring practices.
Yes.
Just incredible diversion of where the problem are. Now, I heard some financial analysts talking this morning saying, look, it might not be as clear that the Silicon Bank situation was connected to these particular regulation cuts. We're going to have to figure that out, right? That's something that's going to be coming. And overall, the banking system is much better off now than it was in 2008. And whatever damage the Trump administration and Congress in 2018 and 19 were able to do to the financial situation, hopefully that's been staved off by the practice of the Biden administration. And these things need to be addressed on a constant basis. You know, we use this analogy that I got from a talk on diversity and equity thing one time, where the guy said, look, he was talking about racism. And he said, I've realized that I used to think about racism like having your tonsils removed. But now I think about it more like oral hygiene. So if it's like having your tonsils removed, you say, we did it once. I got rid of racism. How could it be back? But if you think about it as having stuff in your teeth or every morning, or, you know, if you're from some places in the world, every month, you brush your teeth, you sort of clean up. Maybe after a meal, you sort of look and you just keep up on it on a regular basis, right? That's the way we have to look at our regulations and so on. Not like they exist and then we cut them, or they exist and then we leave them. This is what bureaucracies do. This is what politicians do. Yeah. They keep up on these things. They do the daily oral hygiene of regulations. Yeah. So that's what we ought to be up to. That's what we ought to be doing. And this idea of like, just take it out is a really, well, in fact, like your tonsils, unless you have real tonsillitis problems, they're now finding that maybe you should leave your tonsils in there and deal with them otherwise. But
well, let me give you another analogy.
Let
me give you another analogy, Doug, and that is, you know, thinking about steroid users in athletics. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's this thing about, well, you know, we test for steroids. We test for steroids. And then, you know, whenever you watch a documentary or you read a story about, you know, steroid users, there's that phrase that, you know, the steroid doctors are a couple steps ahead of the testers. And they're always figuring out new ways to mask things, hide things. And the testing has to constantly evolve because of the changes that are taking place in the steroid, you know, usage and how that's developing. And I think it's the same way here, that what we've got is these regulations get put into place, and then, you know, people figure out ways around them, or what the unintended consequences are, or people, you know, even assuming the best intent, people do things and then all of a sudden you realize, oh no, this isn't good for the economy. Like, you know, and
it's not working.
You know, subprime mortgages, like maybe this isn't a great idea after all. And so we need, like, the regulators need to be doing everything they can to keep up with, you know, with the banks in the same way the steroid testers are trying to keep up.
Yep. Regulations. Look, nobody's interested in over-regulating. I know that. Yeah, I got some friends that are telling me all the time that, you know, the deep state just wants to control and over. They really don't. Even people who like have to manage the regulations are like, let's not have too many. It's a lot of work. No one wants to over-regulate. What you want is an outcome. I was with a business guy one time. I was speaking at an event and talking about church and change and cultural shifts and stuff that I do in my professional life, you know. And this guy came up and said, hey, I work for a drill bit manufacturer. And he said, we had a new CEO that came in, and he said something very similar to what you're saying now. So he told me the story. And he said, the new CEO got all of the managers, middle managers, you know, management team together and said, what is it that we make here? And people said, we make drill bits. And he said, no, that's not what I'm thinking. What do we make? And people said,
Can I take a guess?
We make, hang on. Yeah.
Holes.
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 Did I tell you the story already? He said
No.
holes. He said, what we make is holes. We might make holes with metal. We might make holes with carbon. We might make holes with lasers. We're in the hole making business, right? It's such an insightful way to think about things. What regulations exist to do is not to regulate, it's to produce the conditions for a better outcome. So when you do something knuckleheady, like line up a bunch of people in front of it and say, let's just get rid of the regulations, you really need to be asking yourself, what are the outcomes of those regulations? Like, what did they produce that now won't be produced? And then you might say to yourself, we got to stop making holes. The holes were water's going out the holes, or air's coming in the hole, like no more holes. Or you need to say, we need more holes, right? But the point isn't the regulations. The point's not the drill bits. The point is, what do people want? I remember when a guy came, we did a thing of our house, like for HVAC is what I'm trying to think of, heating, and had to get a new furnace and air conditioner and the whole kind of system, and all this stuff. And they start asking questions like, well, do you want the 400 horsepower, or do you want the one that was going to last 90? And I was like,
no, I want my room to be warm or cool. Yes.
What I'm interested in is the air. I'm not interested in the device that delivers the air. And that perspective on things, government and just in sort of generally in life, is kind of helpful. Like, what do you really want? You really want the outcome. You don't always want the mechanism. Now, I do have guitars in my basement, and that's a different story. Do I want music out of them, or do I just want to look at them because they're so great looking to me? Well, that's what I want, is the pleasure of enjoying those things, not necessarily the music. So you can have lots of reasons to have things, but you really ought to know what the motivation for those things are. And those things could be regulations or government or lack of it or whatever. But does it produce the common good? Does it produce what you want? Are things better with it or without it? Is a pretty good test.
Yeah. You mentioned Ron DeSantis, and I just wanted to, can we just take a little behind Trisha just coming through?
I want corporations to stop sucking the life out of people.
That's right. Yes.
Especially those big vacuum corporations.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
so, you mentioned Ron DeSantis, and we're talking about Donald Trump. Could we just take a little diversion for just a second, little palate cleanser, to reflect on Donald Trump's nickname for Ron DeSantis? These two are going to be, former friends, are going to be facing off against each other in the Republican primary for president.
Were they ever friends? Oh, pardon the interruption. Were they ever friends? Are these two people really people that have? Do you think there's a group of people that are like, oh no, I'm in a text group with my friend Ron? I don't know that Ron DeSantis has organized his life around friends. I know Donald Trump hasn't. It's been part of his biography. He didn't have friends. He might be friendly or frenemies with people, but anyway, go on. Yes,
he doesn't have he doesn't have friends, but he does have nicknames for people. And throughout the presidential election in 2016, he really used nicknames to greatly diminish his opponents. We all remember, Low Energy Jeb and Lowell Marco and, Crazy Ted. Was it Crazy Ted Cruz? Anyways, we had all of these, and Crooked Hillary, Sleepy Joe Biden. That one didn't work. He's got a nickname for Ron DeSantis. It fits because it's actually one of his more clever ones, I think. It's Ron DeSanctimonious, which is okay. First of all,
sanctimonious.
The fact that Donald Trump picked such a long word is surprising, because he's going to have to say it, spell it over and over and over again. I'm not sure he can do that. Ron DeSanctimonious. Now, Doug, do you think Donald Trump knows what the word sanctimonious means?
I think he only knows what the word desanctimonious means. He didn't know sanctimonious was.
Do you have this to put on the screen?
I don't. I just realized. Okay. No, you're gonna have to.
Okay, I will.
But I actually have the quote of him saying it. I have him saying, messing up the desanctimonious. But feel free to read it.
Trump said he nicknamed Ron DeSantis Ron DeSanctimonious in reference to the lack of gratitude he claimed that DeSantis had shown after Trump bolstered his political rise with his endorsement. The nickname Ron DeSanctus, he added, is just a shorter version of Ron DeSanctimonious, which he said he cannot use in the same paragraph twice. And then here's a quote from Trump. Quote, I guess it's referring to the fact that when you do something for somebody and they don't reciprocate, I never liked that. Doug, what's the definition of the word sanctimonious?
That you think that you're rather saintly. Not that you're someone who doesn't reciprocate. He's a de-reciprocator, apparently.
Yeah, he's an ingrate. That's like, he's disloyal.
Ingrate, wow.
He's like Ron disloyal. Ron
de ingrate, yeah.
Would be appropriate. So what Donald Trump has done here is he has stumbled, he's stumbled onto it, because Ron DeSanctimonious is great because Ron DeSantis does think he's better than everybody else.
Yes.
Does act with this holier than thou kind of attitude. Does, lift his nose at, the people he deems to be.
He has the Ivy League attitude of his Ivy League education at Yale University. Sure, for sure. Yeah. I mean, he comes across as one of those people. He's not an everyman. He's an Ivy Leaguer that thinks he's better than other people.
Yeah. I mean,
at least he gives off that impression.
Every men don't wear white boots like that.
Yeah. Every inch of his 5'6" frame is just thinking, I am bigger and better than all of you.
He is sanctimonious. I wonder how he'd fit in a Mini Cooper. If he'd be able to touch the pedals.
I don't think he could reach the pedals. Somebody could sit behind him. No problem with that. He could turn a 3-seater into a 4-seater. It would be. It's a great choice. A great choice for him as well. I'm just saying, Mini Coopers, they fit all of us.
He is sanctimonious.
Yes.
That's not what the word means, Donald.
Yeah, it's not someone who doesn't reciprocate. Yeah, he's just something else.
So
all right.
hilarious.
So as long as we're down this deep road, I've got a video of Trump from yesterday. I couldn't find a version of it online. I had to record it off of my television set like a crazy person. So that's what this is.
We're about to get a glimpse into your living room.
No, I tried to hold the camera steady, but I'm on a juice cleanse for this week, and so I'm a little shaky. All right, so here we go. I may have to pause during this because it's just so painful. Here we go.
Okay, so remember this. Ron DeSantis. Did anyone ever hear of DeSantis?
See, there he is doing the Ron DeSantis. That's what he got picked on for, because it's supposed to be Ron DeSanctimonious, but he couldn't say Ron DeSanctimonious, so he said Ron DeSantis. Because once again, Donald Trump has a very difficult time extemporaneously speaking when he's reading a teleprompter. So it's clearly on the teleprompter. Donald Trump's never looking left or right to make the crowd feel like they're included. He's not doing the pastor head sweep, making sure that the audience feels he's reading it off the teleprompter, and he misread it. And so then you can tell, because then he talks over it, right? He knew he didn't say Ron DeSanctimonious. He knew he said Ron DeSanctus, which I think is that movie Invictus, which was in his head. And then he tried to talk over it. You've heard of Ron DeSantis, right? Like, I didn't misspeak that. You've heard that phrase before. I mean, did you hear that little bit right there? Just in 5 seconds, this guy is a piece of work. Here it is again.
Okay, so remember this. Ron DeSantis. Did anyone ever hear of DeSantis? DeSanctimonious. No, Ron.
See, he's just trying to get it right. Just clumsy.
DeSantis strongly opposed ethanol. Do you know that? And we don't even know if he's running, but I might as well tell you. If he's not running, I'll say he was fine on ethanol. Don't worry about it.
Okay, did you get that? He's about to go after him on ethanol. And then he says, did you even know he was against ethanol? Because he's in Iowa, and Iowa, I can tell you because I'm a neighbor state, has been pushing corn into our fuel and clogging up snowblower carburetors for decades now. And so he's trying to say he's not for ethanol, so he's not an Iowa guy, right? And then he says, but if he doesn't run, then I'll say he was fine on ethanol. I'm only saying this because he's my competition. Just literally saying he's terrible on ethanol, But if he doesn't run, he's fine on ethanol. We don't really need ethanol. So somehow he's trying to say to these people, Ron's not for ethanol. I'm critiquing that. But if he doesn't run, it's fine because really we're not for ethanol. It's just the word scramble and idea soup of this guy is incredible, and it just gets worse.
He strongly opposed ethanol and fought against it at every turn, and he's going to do that again because people that come out early for something, that's where they go. That's what it is. So, he may do something politically, but he was very, very bad on ethanol.
Yeah, Trump.
All the way, and he also fought against Social Security. He wanted to decimate it and voted against it 3 times. Voted against Social Security. That's a bad one. A lot of people don't know that. But
pause here a second, Doug. Have you followed this line of, Trump is, I think this is actually one of those ways that Trump is really good at politics. In 2016, when he ran, there were a number of issues that he mirrored, echoed Democratic talking points on.
Yeah.
Things like healthcare. He talked about universal healthcare. There was a number of things that were super popular with people that Trump was willing to campaign on. And Democrats have made Social Security and Medicare significant issues, from Biden's, State of the Union speech. And there's been things in Congress that have led to this. And Trump is out of step with other Republicans who really do want to dismantle Social Security, who really do want to dismantle Medicare. They do want it privatized. They like that is the objective.
Right. They've said it out loud and have printed pieces around that. Yep.
And Trump is loudly disagreeing with that, and in fact, campaigning on that against them. It's a significant thing to note.
Yeah, totally. And he's trying to carve out this place where he's saying that Ron DeSantis is for getting rid of Social Security. And then what he's about to do here is he's about to say, and this, because of that, that's why, because Ron DeSantis is wrong on Social Security, that's why we're going up in the polls. Then he realizes, what did I just say? I just said we're going up in the polls because of Ron DeSantis. So then he says, but no, it probably wasn't that. It was more because of the things we probably did. Maybe it was what we did, or maybe it's what he did. I don't know. We just really, it's unreal. And again, we're not just picking on a guy who used to have a job. He is a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. And Donald Trump is a beloved child of God, as we all are. It's not a personal attack on him as a human being. He is loved by God. He is welcomed into the arms of the Lord, and he's welcomed into a Mini Cooper as an American, whatever. He can do whatever he wants. Light of the world, salt of the earth. And Rob, as I heard someone say once, but not every light of the world should be the president of the United States. And this man needs to take his dim little light and keep it out of the White House again. And we need to keep reminding people that this light doesn't shine bright enough to be the president. So here he is now trying to explain somehow how Ron DeSantis causes his poll numbers to go up within the subset of Republicans. And it's just the nonsense after nonsense again. I promise you it's less than 30 seconds more that you're going to have to put up with this. I feel like a dentist who's saying to people like, just breathe. We're almost done here. It's okay. Just breathe. All right, here we go.
I think they've been finding out over the last 4 weeks, one of the reasons that we're zooming in the polls, perhaps. Maybe that's one, maybe it's other things too. It's really based on what we've done, I think. And on social
Did you hear that? People are really finding out a lot about Ron DeSantis. That's why we're zooming in the polls, but it's probably more about something we think. I think it's probably something that we did, or maybe it's something he did. I don't know.
Security, well,
oh my gosh, this guy.
He wanted the minimum retirement age to be lifted to people that are 70 years old, a substantial increase over what it is right now. That's a big.
So this is a big argument, right? Is it a good idea for the United States of America to have a Social Security based on age 65, age 62, age 67, age 70? I mean, I'll tell you, I think that's a very reasonable conversation to have, right? Totally. I have an opinion about it. I think 65 is about the right age, maybe 66. Actuaries can tell you about savings that happens every 12 months because of death rates and so on. It's a reasonable conversation to have. No problem with having that conversation. People like DeSantis should raise it. Other people should rebuke it, and we should have a full-on like American conversation about something as important as Social Security. Totally. You think that's what Donald Trump is doing? You think Donald Trump is like, hey, what's really going to come out here with difference between me and Ron is I think Social Security should be at age 66, and he thinks it should be at age 70, and that's the difference? No, he doesn't care. Doesn't care for one moment about this stuff. The man is just blithering, just utterly blithering.
But it's an indicator that the Republican position on Social Security is not popular, and Trump is willing to use that against Ron DeSantis.
Totally,
he's going to chase the popularity. And so I just think, okay, this is good for Democrats. This is like, we need to lean into.
Sure.
I say
yeah.
we like I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
Democrats need to say we like I'm when the Cleveland Browns won the game. You know, we won.
Like you're American.
Like I had anything to do with any of it. Democrats need to lean into the Social Security argument and don't let Donald Trump become the champion of Social Security.
Totally. Like, hey, welcome to the party, and feel free to call off all the people that currently want to balance the or deal with the deficit based on deficit spending. And again, go over to YouTube, watch our videos. Yeah. Deficit is not a credit card bill. That's the debt limit. Debt limit is different than the deficit. They are related, but they're different. And the deficit is caused by the difference between the amount of money the government has ever generated and printed out of its sweet little Treasury Department, that number, minus the amount of money that's come out in taxes. The difference, the national deficit. That's not a credit card bill because the federal government doesn't have a credit card. The federal government is the credit card. It produces the money and can do whatever it wants and make as much of it as it wants. The only reason it doesn't produce more money is fear of inflation. That and human behavior. It wants to control human behavior to preference some actions over others. But you can watch whole videos on that on our YouTube channel.
Will Donald Trump be complaining about Social Security and the retirement age when he's behind bars?
No, he's going to be talking about criminal justice reform. That's the thing that Donald Trump is going to be calling for. He's going to be like, remember the guy? I've forgotten his name now. He was the head of the New York Police Department, and then he got sent to jail for some campaign finance.
Carrick?
Bernie Carrick. So he went to prison and went to the very prison where he had sent a bunch of people and came out of there like, we got to fix the prison system. This is nuts. I had no idea. Do you know what people were in here for? Like, he really became a person who was just pushing hard for, and in fact, he's part of the criminal justice reform work that went on. That's what Trump is going to do because he has multiple legal issues facing him now. And people who seem to know things are like, I don't know if he's going to be indicted on 2 things, 3 things, or 4. And then is the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit, which is a civil suit, going to also cause him great distress. He has so many things going on that are not like Congress is investigating you and they're going to make you look bad. And it's not even, it's not even what did you do or say on January 6th.
They are not political theater.
They are not. These are criminal charges, which might come from the DOJ on the documents case and what he did in Mar-a-Lago and the obstruction of justice. Might have to do with January 6th and if he's legally culpable for those actions. But what he did in Georgia, they got him set. What he did with Stormy Daniels payments. And we haven't talked about Stormy Daniels in a while, either in reference to Donald Trump or anything else. But like, you think there's a whole group of people that are like, wow, I can't believe our little Stormy Daniels has become so famous. Like, boy, we knew her when she was, just an actress. I don't know anything about her public career other than she's an adult film star.
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
It's true. Not a thing. I don't know. Was it a long-term career? Was it short-term? Was she straight to video? I have no idea what Stormy Daniels did. Donald Trump does. But now, he's saying, I did not have a relationship with that woman.
Yeah. Yes.
He's what's going to work for me is to lie about the affair. Really? Like the other impeached president in our lifetime? Yeah. How'd that go? That doesn't work. And that he's turning to that. Not like I didn't pay her, or that's something Michael Cohen did, or it wasn't my money. Not even talking about the legal aspects. His argument is literally, I didn't have a relationship with her. Why would I have paid her any money? We know that she was paid money. That's not in dispute. Like,
isn't there like literally a canceled check?
There is literally canceled checks from Michael Cohen, and then Donald Trump paid him back, because that's what the Matt Gaetz and these guys are the same way.
Campaign money.
You pay the woman for whatever you're paying the woman for, and then I'll settle up with you with campaign money later. Matt Gaetz did it, and he's not going to be charged for it. And Donald Trump did it. And it looks like after all the weight of individual number one, I mean, it's been years since we heard individual number one, who everyone was like, that's Donald Trump. Individual number one is going to be he was invited, people probably know this story. If you listen to this podcast, you probably know this. He was invited by the grand jury in New York to come tell his side of the story before they make a final determination. And you know what he said yesterday? No, thank you. If you're innocent, you walk in that room and you're like, I don't know what y'all been doing around here, but I didn't do any of that stuff. You don't wait for an indictment unless you're like, oh, if I go in there, I'm going to say things that they don't know, and I'm going to be under oath, and
it's going to make this even worse.
I'm going to lie. And he can't take the Fifth Amendment, which he said was something that's only done for liars and cheats, which then he took, was taken hundreds and hundreds of times in legal depositions. Can't do that in front of a grand jury. He's going to be indicted in the state of New York. He's likely going to be indicted in the state of Georgia, and he's likely to be indicted by the federal government. It's unbelievable. And he's the nominee for president for the Republican Party. I mean, unbelievable. Oh. And again, I'm going to say the prediction here in case this is the only video somebody watches. Here's my guess. He takes a plea deal for all this that includes him not ever running for office again. And that will be the way that this all ultimately ends. From your lips to God's ears. Because he can't, because again, as bad as his behavior is, we just can't be sending former presidents to jail. I know people disagree, but look, we all just should look at it and say, like, yes, he's guilty. And it's just a bad look for the country. So just on behalf of all of us, could we find another consequence for this than simple jail time? Or a fine. Like, who cares? For the guy like Trump, he doesn't care. It's not even his money. He's been spending his dad's money, and he's been spending other people's money his entire life. He does not care about losing any money. He cares about losing face, and that's what I think is going to come out. And both Georgia and New York, by the way, not pardonable at the federal level. Right. Because those are state charges. Yep. State charges. Sure. Unbelievable. Okay, one last thing. If you got just another minute, just a minute, real quick. McConnell. Rob's got a hard stop. I'm trying to say Rob's got a hard stop. It's more complicated than you think. At the top of the hour, as they say. Mitch McConnell fell, hurt himself in the fall, rather significantly in this headline that he's going to be released from the hospital, but will enter a rehab facility. Look, he's an elderly fella, and a lot of us know, and all the best wishes to him and his family and everything. And you know, as a child of God, we're all on his side. As a Senate Majority Leader, I think he should get out of that job. He's really harmed the country. This is how life ends. This is how, at this age, this is how hard right turns to whatever you were doing, planning to do an hour from now, you're never doing again. This has the makeup of that kind of thing. And I wonder if there's more going on here, because a concussion at this age is really something they worry about. You know, it's brain bleeding and all the rest. Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Rob?
No, I think you're right. It reminds me a bit of Harry Reid, who it seemed like had some similar issues near the end of his life, and
like fell off a treadmill or something. Yeah. Smacked his face.
So, yeah. I mean, best wishes to Mitch McConnell, who we have just no love for at all on this podcast. But come on, he's a human being.
For the political life of Mitch McConnell, disastrous. The human life of Mitch McConnell, cherished.
Yeah.
So,
and frankly, Donald Trump needs to shut up about his wife too.
About McConnell's wife.
Yes.
Yeah. It's his former, Treasury or Transportation Secretary.
Yeah. Who he now insults pretty significantly.
Yeah.
That guy.
Hey, but thanks for being a part of the podcast. Rob's got to go, but we'll see. We'll be back here tomorrow, and we're back here again on Thursday, and then a special week next week. Some of us are going to be off in London. But anyway, lots of things coming. Keep up. Head over to YouTube if you haven't subscribed over there yet. Do. And then, make a couple of other email accounts and subscribe by all of them. It helps us all out. All right. Thanks all. Thanks, Yabitz, Trisha, Angie, Jim, William, Timothy. Tim, I know who you are. Kimberly. Arbery. All of you for being a part of the chats over here. We really appreciate it. Spread the word, Kimberly, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. He's really gone that fast. I mean, that guy, 10 o'clock, he's done. 10 o'clock Central, Rob's off. Problem solved.